This may come as a shocker to some, but referees in professional sports don't always make the right calls, and the outcome of a game is significantly impacted by the officiating of the referee crews, especially in a dynamic game like basketball. It's not always the referee's fault either. To be fair, it must be tough keeping track of 10 players on the court, all while also making sure you apply the 1,000 different rules in the exact precise situations. That being said, there have been some devastating no calls, inexcusable technicals, and bad judgments throughout the long history of the modern game. Recently, while rewatching the horribly officiated Western Conference Finals series between Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers in 2002, I realized how much a single whistle can alter the fate of franchises and players alike. Today, we'll talk about some of the worst referee mistakes in NBA history, which ended up changing the outcome of series, seasons, and even careers. We'll also talk about some of the funnier ones. Well, at least funny in retrospect. Let's get into it. Joey Crawford. Currently retired NBA referee Joey Crawford was regarded as one of the most strict and controversial officials in the NBA and developed a reputation for having a big ego that would interfere in what should have been unbiased officiating. Admittedly, Crawford knew what he was doing. He had officiated more playoff games than any other referee at 313 games, and his 50 final game appearances ranked second amongst all referees. Back in the 2005 Eastern Conference Finals between the Detroit Pistons and the Miami Heat, we got our first glance at an egotistical Crawford when the Heat were trying to mount a late-game comeback, and they got help from the most unexpected source, the referee. When Damon Jones was trying to drive to the basket, Crawford apparently decided he wanted to get in on the action and body-checked Damon Jones out of bounds. In a fit of rage and ego, Crawford called the foul on Chauncey Billups, even though he never touched Damon Jones. You can be sure our reactions were similar to Mr. Big Shot himself. This was not the only blemish on Crawford's career. Basketball is a game where a call can decide the flow of the game while also impacting the game clock. During the last quarter, every second matters, and during Game 5 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Memphis Grizzlies in 2015, Crawford misjudged the game clock by a few tenths of a second. This led to KD missing a last-second shot, which was immediately tapped into the basket by Serge Ibaka. The game, however, was lost, with replays showing Ibaka being only a microsecond late because Joey had already clocked off a few tenths of a second previously. On the lighter side of things, we also got one of the most unique moments in NBA history when Tim Duncan smiled while resting on the bench. Duncan smiling in itself is a pretty rare occurrence, but Joey's ego got the better of him again, and he ultimately teed up the silent superstar, thinking that Duncan was laughing at him. Duncan couldn't believe what was happening, and Crawford allegedly even wanted to confront Duncan, asking him repeatedly if he wanted to fight. Due to Crawford's behavior and aggressiveness towards Duncan, he was fined $100,000 and was suspended for the remaining 2007 NBA season. This incident did serve to alter Crawford's methodology towards officiating games, as he told Sam Borden in an interview for the New York Times, "The Duncan thing probably changed my life. It was just, you come to the realization that maybe the way you've been doing things is not the proper way." The change in Crawford was visible to all, and a recent LA Times survey showed how Joey Crawford had the second most votes for best referee right after his brother Danny Crawford. Warriors vs. Cavaliers, Game 1, 2018 NBA Finals. Game 1s are notorious for setting the pace and tempo for a series, and in the final minute of the 2018 NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James tried to draw a charge on Kevin Durant while Durant was driving to the basket. Referee Tony Brothers decided that LeBron was inside the restricted area and not stationary. This resulted in a blocking foul. This gave Golden State the opportunity to tie the game at 104 each, and the Warriors went on to win in overtime. The Cavs in this series were already underdogs, having lost their star point guard Kyrie Irving the year before, and losing Game 1 in such a manner put them under significant pressure to tie up the series at one game apiece, which they couldn't manage. Eventually, they lost to the Warriors, leading LeBron to say goodbye to his hometown team of Cleveland next season to pursue the Larry O'Brien Trophy in Los Angeles alongside AD. Lakers vs. Spurs, Game 4, Western Conference Finals. During Game 4 of the 2008 Western Conference Finals, Spurs guard and slam dunk champion Brent Barry pulled up for a potential game-winning three-pointer and tried to pump fake to throw his opponent Derek Fisher off. The Lakers guard bites on the fake and is caught in the air, landing on Barry as he misses the shot. No whistle came, likely because Brent didn't jump into Fisher as he should have and elected instead to dribble the ball. This series had tremendous consequences as the Lakers would go on to defeat the Spurs, denying them their chance to repeat as champions, something the Spurs have never achieved. In the finals, the Lakers would go on to lose to the Pistons, where Chauncey Billups would earn the nickname of Mr. Big Shot. Zaza Shenanigans, Game 1, WCF. Before the rule about giving shooters the necessary space to land was implemented, Zaza Pachulia demonstrated how big of a problem that could be, as Kawhi Leonard, who was playing spectacularly at the time, landed on the stuck-out left foot of the Warriors players, who blatantly denied the Spurs superstar any breathing room. Slow-motion replay showed how Zaza had deliberately moved his foot right under Kawhi. This was Game 1 of the highly anticipated finals between three of the best players on the planet, Steph, KD, and Kawhi. Fans were excited about the tremendous opportunity to see KD and Kawhi compete against one another. But it was not to be, and unfortunately, it led to the injury and exodus of one of the greatest players in the modern era, Kawhi Leonard. In a way, this was also one of the significant moments in the 2010s and basically decided the champion of the 2019 NBA season, the Raptors. Irish luck, Game 2, 2008 NBA Finals. While we have seen a single call affect the outcome of an entire series, very rarely do we see constantly bad officiating throughout a game. Separated by 3,000 miles, the Lakers and the Celtics aren't exactly local rivals, but no rivalry gets fiercer than that of the Celtics versus Lakers. When the two teams matched up at the 2008 Finals, fans were in for a spectacle. What fans did not expect was the horrible officiating of Game 2, in which the Celtics were awarded a whopping 38 free throws compared to only 10 for the Lakers. This deficit in free throws ended up being a decisive factor, as the Celtics ended up outscoring the Lakers by 17 points at the free throw stripe. Boston also took a 2-0 series lead with the win and went on to win their first championship title since the year 1986. Home advantage? Game 7 Western Conference Finals 2000. A lot rides on a single Game 7. It can change the legacy of players and the futures of franchises. So it's no surprise to us that Game 7s are even more thoroughly officiated than other games. Sometimes, however, we see a Game 7 that makes us scratch our heads in confusion whether the referees are blind or are they just pretending to be. In Game 7 of the 2000 Western Conference Finals, we saw exactly that, as the Portland Trail Blazers were trying to make history and reach the promised land after a championship drought of almost 3 decades. But in a cruel twist of fate, referee Dick Pavetta, Hugh Evans, and Steve Javi blew the whistle so many times in the Lakers' favor that the Portland fans must have thought they were on the beach during the summer rush. The Lakers went on to shoot 37 free throws, a record at the time for a playoff game, and rumors started to circulate that the referees, especially Pavetta, was biased towards Los Angeles, as disgraced referee Tim Donaghy pointed out in his book, Blowing the Whistle, The Culture of Fraud in the NBA. The Finals Conspiracy, 2006 NBA Finals. In a series considered to be the coming out party of the NBA great Dwayne Wade, Wade's aggressive playstyle warranted a close series, but the sudden shift the series took from Game 3 onwards was jarring, to say the least. Wade averaged a ridiculous 34.7 points per game while shooting 16.2 free throws a game. From losing the first 2 games by a combined 24 points, the Heat went on to win 4 straight games, attempting 207 free throws, 52 more than the Mavericks. Wade also shot a series-high 97 free throws, including 25 in Game 5. The same number as the Mavericks' entire team. A lot of conspiracy theories popped up because of these finals, and Mark Cuban even said, "It will go down in history as the worst officiated finals in the history of the game." 2002 Western Conference Finals. Last but not least, let's talk about the most horribly officiated series ever played, between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Sacramento Kings in the 2002 Western Conference Finals. The Sacramento team had a collection of underrated legends, including a member of the Fab Five, Chris Webber, international star Vlade Divac, and point guard Mike Bibby. They were going against one of the greatest teams of all time. They had the deadly combination of Shaq and Kobe. In the tightly contested series that followed, the Kings were able to take a 3-2 advantage. Both Game 6 and Game 7 had questionable calls, but it was Game 6, a game which would have sent the Kings to the finals if they had won it. That revealed the extent of the horrible officiating. Scott Pillard was fouled out in just 11 minutes of court time. Vlade Divac was also lost near the end of regulation after picking up a 5th phantom foul minutes earlier. Bibby, too, was called for a foul after Kobe Bryant elbowed him in the face, causing a cut above his eye. Yes, it was that level of crazy. The Lakers won by outscoring the Kings 34-18 at the free throw line. Game 7 was a more fair game by all accounts, but having lost the momentum against an experienced team like the Lakers, there was no coming back. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you loved it, as it would help us tremendously. We upload videos like this weekly, so be sure to stay tuned.